Alright, so in this video, we are going to go over the second form of our linear equations. It's called standard form. So in standard form, the setup looks like this, and I know it looks a little complicated right now, but we just have our constants, which are a and b, our variables x and y, and c is our total. And that's going to become even more important when we do word problems. So this is our setup. It might look a little bit more clear once we do an actual example. So example number 1. So as you can see, we have 4x plus y equals 3. If I want to show you how this is a standard form, I can say ax plus by equals c, where my a is 4, my b is my invisible 1. So remember, if we don't have a number in front of the variable, it means it's an invisible 1. And my c is 3. All right, so that's how the standard form comes about. So I'm gonna just erase this because what we actually want to do is the first method that we're going to use whenever we are in standard form. So when we are in standard form, the first thing that we can do is rearrange this equation so that we're back in slope-intercept form. So let me just remind you what slope-intercept form looks like. I'm going to write it here. So slope-intercept looks like y equals mx plus b, where the y is all by itself, okay, on the left side of the equation. Here we have an equation, but the y is not by itself. So we're going to use inverse operations to get that y by itself. So I want the y to be all by itself. So the first thing that I'm gonna eliminate or get rid of is this 4x. So since it is a positive 4x, I'm gonna say minus 4x, and that's on both sides. Oop. I don't know what happened there. All right. And that would cancel out. And now I'm just going to bring down my y, bring down my equal sign, and I can't take 4x from 3. So I'm just going to write it negative 4x plus 3. Now, why am I writing it this way? I just want to make sure that I'm in the same format as y equals mx plus b. I could have written it 3 minus 4x, and you technically wouldn't be wrong, but we want to stay in the same format that we are used to seeing. So I'm going to say negative 4x, and since this is a positive 3, I'm going to say plus 3. Okay, so now that we're in this form, we can just plug it into our calculator like we did in the last lesson. So I'm going to plug this into my graphing calculator. All right, so once we're here, I'm gonna go to the y equals button, and I'm gonna type in, what was the equation again? Negative 4x plus 3. Negative 4x plus 3. I notice that my negative is this button right here. You see under the 3, that's my negative. Now I'm gonna go to second and graph to get my table. So like we know, we like to use, we definitely want to start with our 0, y-intercept, which is the x value being 0. So 0, 3. So my bracelet. So 0, 3. So the coordinate would be 0, 3. And now I'm going to use 1 negative because if you see, these numbers are getting a little too large and it won't fit into my graph if I'm using a scale of 1, if I'm going by ones. So I'm just going to say negative 1 comma 7. So let me actually say 0 comma, was it 3 or negative 3? It was 3. And negative 1 comma 7. And now the numbers after are going to be some positives. So 1 comma negative 1. 2 comma negative 5. And I don't think I'm gonna have space for my next one, but I might. 3 comma negative 9. Okay, so I'm gonna plot those numbers in here. That's good. Remember what I mentioned, that to avoid any like little mistakes, we want to write our numbers out here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Negative 1, negative 2, negative 3. And my negatives on this side as well. Okay, so now I'm ready to plot my numbers. I'm starting with negative 1 comma 7, so I'm gonna go on my x-axis to negative 1 and then up 7. Then 0 comma 3, 1 comma negative 1, 2 comma negative 5, 3 comma negative 9. All right, and then I'm gonna use my line to connect. Oh, what line was that? All right, I'm gonna try my no. Sorry about that. I mean, that's a little better. It has to connect through all the points, and that's what I'm having the most trouble with. Sorry about that. What's going on with my screen? Ah, there you go, finally. All right, and my arrows at the end. Okay, so the only additional step in here is just solving for y, pretty much. You're isolating your y, and then you're gonna be able to enter into your calculator to get your points. So let's do one more example with that. Not this one. Let's do, okay. Let's do this one here. Okay. So again, we have an linear equation in standard form, and we just want to rearrange it so that we are in slope intercept. We have an equation, so we have two sides to it, and my goal is to get this y all by itself. The first thing I'm going to do is I am going to eliminate this 3x. Since it is a positive, I'm going to say minus 3x on both sides. That would cancel out. Now I'm bringing down my 2y. And we can't take 3x from 2, so we're just going to say negative 3x plus 2, since this is a positive 2. All right. Again, my goal is to get the y all by itself. So now I am going to divide by 2. Remember, when we have a number and a variable together like this, we are multiplying. So the opposite would be to divide. By here by 2 and here by 2. That would cancel out. Now we have y equals negative 3 over 2 x. And 2 divided by 2 is 1, so plus 1. Now we can simplify this to be, or not simplify, like make this be a decimal, negative 1.5, and you wouldn't be wrong if you say that, but this would also not be wrong. And I'm just going to keep it that way, just because it also goes with the idea of rise over run. Okay, so now that we're here, we can plug this part right into our calculator. That's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to click on my y equals button, which is right here. I'm going to use clear, which is right here. And I'm going to type my fraction, which is my slope. I'm going to use parentheses for that. So parentheses, negative 3 divided by 2. Close your parentheses. X, forgot, plus 1. Alright, and then I'm going to go to second and graph. And here we have my table. So again, I'm going to always start with my y-intercept. So 0, 1. Okay. Then some negatives here. Remember, we don't want to use the decimals because it'll be a little harder to like estimate where they land. So I'm going to stick with negative 2, 4. Okay. And then negative 4, 7. Sorry. Okay. Now let's look for my positives. So again, no decimals. Let's do 2, negative 2. And 4, negative 5. Sorry, 4, negative 5. Alright, so now we're ready to plug our numbers. Again, it's a good idea to write out your numbers here. For the sake of time, I'm not going to do it for this one, but it is a good idea to do that. So I'm going to say negative 4, 7. Okay, negative 2, 4. 0, 1, 2, negative 2, 4, negative 5. And now I'm going to use my line to connect all those. Use my arrows, and there you have your graph. So at this point, you can pause the video, take some notes down, and then head over to Google Classroom to complete your assignment using Canvas.